Welcome to the Guys Unpack. This is Dre.
This is Rich. And today we got a lot of good stuff to get into. A lot has happened. So first of all, thank you guys for rocking with us. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Please.
On YouTube. We are available on all social media platforms. Follow us at Guys Unpacked.
Yep, that's right.
We got a serious topic we want to talk about today before we get into anything else. And as most of you would know by now, the volcano on the small island of St. Vincent has erupted. As of today, I think.
A few times.
Yeah, I think this was the third eruption today.
Yep.
And right now, the residents of the island are in need of as much relief and support as we can give them. So we would like to come together in all of our communities to help them out the best we can. If you're in the DMV area, right now we have a Vinci DMV relief drive. They're currently accepting donations of food. And I'm just going to read this so I don't mess it up.
And we'll also post it on the screen.
Currently accepting donations of food, non-perishable personal hygiene items, and household items. The drop-off is this Saturday, April 17th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the IKEA, the front car park on Baltimore Avenue in College Park. Everybody knows, everyone in the DMV knows that IKEA. Or at the Bass Pro Shop, front car park, 7000 Arundel Mills Circle, Hanover, Maryland. So they are looking for non-perishable food items, personal hygiene items, anything you can give will help. If you are not in the DMV area, that's fine. We're going to post the numbers to a lot of other great sources in New York and other areas around that are also trying to collect whatever we can to help the folks of the island of St. Vincent deal with this great tragedy that's hit them and completely unexpected. And we want to make sure we can lend them whatever support. Our thoughts and prayers already go out to them. So now we want to lend a hand however we can.
I also, I found a place where you can wire money as well. It's supposed to be official. I'm gonna do some more research into it as well. Once it pans out, we'll include that as well, just in case you can't make it to any of the drop-off sites.
And we'll continue to post whatever we can on the Guys Unpacked social media pages. We're gonna share all of these flyers with all of the relief agencies that are helping out the island of St. Vincent. So if you're not already following, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we're gonna have the information there for you guys.
Yep.
All right, Dre.
What's up, man?
So we got some serious stuff to get into, but before we touch on the
heavier
topics, man, Jaxcn, Derrick Jaxcn.
As tired as I am about your boy Jaxcn, I was quite tickled when Cameron Dipset Cameron
called him out.
He went out and was while was and I think these are a couple topics in this, but like, you know, he as you know, he posted something about DMX passing.
R.I.P.
Which is of course very sad situation.
Yeah.
I love the fact that so many people were moved by him, but I also was like, a lot of people are moved by him, but I didn't really see and hear a lot of those people really talking about him from before. Like I even heard a couple like top fives in there in the conversations. I'm like, so only when he's about to die and dying, but
yeah.
Either way, Jaxcn decided to post something about his death.
Post the R.I.P.
Just like everyone else on Earth for the most part.
Cam wasn't having it.
Cam wasn't having it at all. Cam was like, sit your ass down.
Right. Cam was like, yo, you've been low since you got caught cheating. And now you pop up with this, so
just stay low.
And you know what the best part of it was? Cam was so Cam posted what he posted. Shade Room posted it. Derrick Jaxcn commented, "Oh, you acting like I cheated on you." Blah blah blah. Tried to take like this high road. I forgot who he was messing with, dog.
Bro,
Cam was like,
he's one of the pettiest dudes in the world.
It's like if you was messing with 50, like, dog, just don't comment.
That's it.
Let him say what he said. The high road is to not respond.
Matter of fact, I'll say any New York nigga, like just leave him alone.
Don't respond.
You're not gonna win that.
Because they got time to sit on social media.
Nothing but time.
Hang on, hold on. This nigga said, what? And so he came right back like, dog, the more you post, I'm gonna keep reminding folks that you're a fraud. And I was like, thank you.
So I appreciate that, but I will say, going back to what we said when we covered Jaxcn, like this ultimately feeds into people then wanting to click on his stuff.
Right. And
so he gets dragged publicly, but then he technically gets paid as well in response. So
it is the give and take, but it's the part of the social media world we live in right now where there's no bad publicity, but at the same time, for me, it was fun to watch.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm all the way here for it. On the same topic, rest in peace to DMX. I can say for me, I felt people's emotion on this one because for a lot of us, especially like folks from New York, when X came out, like he came out and he changed
completely
rap, like
completely,
like it went straight back.
He made gutter cool.
He took it straight back to the gut, and for what it's worth, was lyrically dope.
Very.
Swiss, the beats that Rough Riders family had during their reign,
sure,
amazing.
Sure.
And so after and admittedly I have not probably played
that much
an X album in a little while because X hasn't been putting out music, right?
Sure.
And he went through his struggles and he fought his demons and he dealt with what he dealt with. But the reality of him was that he remained kind of the same person.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
He dealt with what he dealt with, but he remained the same person. It was great seeing him on the verses with him and Snoop. Like that was like when everybody saw him, it was like, yo, X looking good. You know what I mean? Because everybody knew he was going through. So I remember that was a moment of like, yo, I like this. Like good to see him back out looking good. So this was, I'm not gonna lie, this one hurt. This one hit me in a way where I was like, I wasn't ready for this, even though I had not really been paying a lot of attention to DMX in recent years.
Yeah.
But just to go back and just his music, I went back and listened to the album. I listened to all that I had just straight through, and it was like, he'll be missed for sure.
So one of the things that I think sucks about his passing more than anything is, at least for me, I got a peek into like the kind of person he was more, more now that he was sick and then passed than before, right? Like anytime that you really heard about him outside of music, it usually had to do with either his troubles with drugs or being in prison or whatever it is. But the outpouring of love that people shared and actually expressed how he was just this giving person. Yeah. Like that wasn't the story that was really being told generally. And it made it even worse. I don't know if you saw, but like there was a New York Times article.
Bruh.
Right? So New York Times article, can't remember the lady's name, not even gonna give her any credit because she's left New York Times anyway. Yeah. Or sorry, not New York Times, New York Post. Yeah. I can't mess up New York, so it's not New York Times, New York Post. And while he's in the hospital, writes this story about the houses, the homes that he's lost throughout his career. Right. And it's like, yo, read the room, chick. Like
beyond that, beyond reading the room, it's like, is this the time? Really?
But that's what I'm saying. Read the room. Right? Like it's like technically it's like look at what's going on.
Right. Like is this the time for this?
What makes it worse though to me is, let's say she decided to go and write this article without talking to anybody, right? Mm-hmm. She wrote it. Someone else had to read it. And an editor had to read it and
agree to run with it.
And then someone had to actually move it, right? Like, so it had to go through a few levels before it got
You don't put this on one person.
So, rightfully so, she fired, left, whatever it was. But it's also like, come on, man. Like, at a certain point, there's got to be some morality that's put into perspective when we're talking about clicks. Because like it's not really worth it. Because New York Post is not going to get any better because of that story.
Right. But remember, there's always the people who are going to find who are going to look for the thing that no one else is talking about because it thinks that that's what sets them apart.
Which is cool, but like find something positive.
Right. But that's what I mean. Like when everyone is talking the positive, they now know, okay, I got to go tear this person down. So I got to go highlight the dark parts of them. It's like when they did it to Kobe. Yeah. They do it to everyone.
They do it to everybody, yeah.
And again, I'm with you. I think it's incredibly trashy as a journalist to find a time when people are outpouring positivity towards a person and say, okay, you know what? This is the time. Like, you could have went back and wrote that article 3 years from now. Right. And then it would be kind of Yeah, some people would still drag you, but I would still understand, like, you know what? If this is a part of a story that you think needs to be told, fine, tell it, right?
Yep.
He's long since passed, whatever. But in the middle of it, does it need to, if the information from his past, it's not going to change.
At all. It actually reminds me, I don't know if you, have you seen there's a Netflix documentary on Biggie?
I saw there is one, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so go watch it. We're not going to dive into it, but it's super dope because typically anytime you hear any story about Biggie or Tupac, it's usually about their death.
Yeah.
Like that's all they talk about, right?
Right.
This one actually dives into his background and his history and how he even got into hip hop.
Okay.
So it touches on the death toward the end, but I mean,
but it's more about his life.
It's about like how he became who he was.
Okay.
And bro, when I tell you,
dope.
Dog, because I went in looking and like I was like, I know I'm gonna be triggered by some of this.
Yeah.
Now, it was super dope, super uplifting.
Okay.
I was like, yo, it didn't just happen. You can see what really contributed to him being dope. But anyway, yeah.
What else happened? It was Usher Bucks.
Usher Bucks.
Right? Now, in fairness to the Usher Bucks story, right? If any of you have heard it or haven't heard it now, the story surfaced that Usher went to a strip club in Vegas and paid the strippers with
money with his face on
it. Usher Bucks.
Usher Bucks.
And the internet took that story and ran with it, and God bless the internet. I love Black Twitter.
Of course.
When you are feeling down,
just go to Black Twitter.
Black Twitter.
They will talk about something.
Life. And the thing is, the creativity of our people and the amount of humor that you find on Black Twitter,
bruh,
it always uplifts me. Find out the story wasn't all the way true,
but I figured though because remember in the chat I was like, before I have an opinion, I haven't seen an actual uproar about this yet. So
right. So something must be right. Because
it just seems fishy. Plus, it's extremely illegal to counterfeit money because it looked like actual real money.
Right.
It's extremely illegal to counterfeit money.
Right.
And spend it. And that would technically be spending it.
Right. Well, and to pass it off as
real money. Right.
Now, as long as it is clearly not real money. Now, this had his face on it, and I'm sure somewhere on there had to put is not legal tender. You know what I mean? Like he had to put the wording on it. So, but
like no strip club is actually going to allow you to do that.
Right.
Like because in his social media post, he has that clear luggage, and you can actually see it through the luggage that it is fake dollars. Granted, nobody's going to look.
That's what I'm about to say. What I was about to say was the next part of it is Usher walks in a strip club with a suitcase of money. You're not checking out like, hang on, are those Usher Bucks? Like nobody's doing that. Security's not stopping Usher. So So all I'm saying is, even though the story turned out not to be as bad as
I loved it.
The humor of it was hilarious. Big up Black Twitter for giving me something to laugh at.
And also, I will say that it was even a pretty dope marketing ploy because apparently he is about to have a residency in Vegas.
Yeah,
and I think that this is
gonna be doing Caesars.
Right. So I think this was a part of it. And honestly, what better way to get people to want to see Usher other than Black Twitter going and roasting him? Like we find humor in everything.
But it's back to what I said. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
I don't agree, but I hear you.
Because again, he started off getting roasted. The story is, I didn't know he had the residency until after this.
Of course not.
Right. So now I know, now I've learned something based on the negative.
Right.
There's no bad publicity anymore, though. Bad publicity is a thing of the past.
That is not true. That's not true.
It's a thing of the past, dog.
It depends on what you are doing with that bad publicity.
No. What you do with it is different, but you can there's no bad publicity anymore. Now, whether or not you are able to turn it, that's on you.
Jaxcn, bad publicity.
I don't know, bruh. He hasn't lost a single follower that I could tell. I went back to the page. He ain't lost no followers.
You still checking his page?
I went back after the Cameron thing. Because went back after the Cameron thing. Man, I still got a bunch of followers. No bad publicity, though. He's probably gained followers, actually.
Yeah, but if he's not monetizing it doesn't mean anything.
He's definitely monetizing it.
Maybe. Anyway.
He monetized shitting on niggas for years. You think he's not monetizing it? I'm going to give him, I don't like him, but I'm going to give him at least enough credit to know that.
He's intelligent enough to figure out how to make money.
Right.
Fair enough.
All right. So, looking down at my phone because we got to get into the problems.
So many of them this week.
Right, that I had to pull these videos. Now, all right.
Which problem are we going to start with? Because there's an underlying problem in all of the topics.
Right. And so I think the fact is we need to address the elephant in the room, right?
What shitty policing?
What the fuck are the police doing?
And how NWA, fuck that all up. NWA came out with a song 30 years ago now.
Something like that.
That it has aged very, very well.
Yeah, it definitely still resonates, though. It definitely still resonates. And I try to be as objective as possible, right?
Okay.
With everything. And you know me, I'm always
pro-police.
Not even just pro-police. I'm always devil's advocate. No, I'm always devil's advocate with most scenarios because I'm like, it can't be that bad, right? There's got to be another side to the story. Sure. And this is one of those weeks where like we've gotten 3 stories where in each of the stories, the actions of the police were beyond problematic. One was egregious, and the other 2 were just really, really, really bad. So I'll even say this to add to that before you continue. So I'm gonna let you run this conversation. I'm just gonna add in, but it's also a super sad day when the person who doesn't die in the midst of all this, you're like, that is a success story, right?
At least he didn't die.
Right. And
he got treated like shit, but at least he didn't die.
Right.
Like, that is what we're like, that's what we can rally around and say, at least he lives another day.
Right. And that's the problem that our bar has been set so low. So, all right, let's start. Let's unpack this fully. So we got 3 situations. One of them occurred last March in Los Angeles. That was this one that we're about to watch now.
Turn around for me. What? Turn around.
What?
Turn around.
Why?
Turn around because I told you to. Turn around.
What are you doing, bro? I live here.
Alright, we got a call. Okay, man. I don't know who I'm looking for yet.
Yo,
Come
why
on,
are you
step.
doing this to me in the street?
Turn around, man. What is your problem, dude?
Michelle!
Stop.
Hey, yo, Michelle!
Jeez.
Yo, you're looking for the people upstairs, bro.
I don't know.
Help! Help! Let me in! I'm saying this is stop, guys!
Why are you doing this?
All you do is ask my name!
So we got that one, right?
Right.
The police responding to a call for a domestic that they get a vague lookout. They don't get the full description of the person.
Sure.
The place they're going to is 3 blocks away
From where they are.
from where they are. They see a random black guy taking out the trash. And they immediately, and you even hear them in the tape, like, is that the guy? I don't know, probably.
All right, so I immediately thought of all of the action movies we see when somebody's trying to evade the police, like the smart ones, where like they run around the corner, take their jacket off, and they start doing something.
Right.
I'm like, maybe the cops have seen too many of these movies because they legit just saw somebody taking trash out and was like, he must be a smart one.
Right.
He got here 3 blocks away and he's taking out trash. He's got to be the suspect.
And Doug, I would say, if that's what you're going with, he won. You gotta let that one go.
That's right.
You gotta let that one go.
You get a pass.
Right. If you did all of that,
right.
Circled the block, changed your clothes, jumped out, and then took out somebody else's trash,
and then got someone in the house to come out in their robe
because that's
and say.
Right. So that's the rest of the story, right?
Right.
While they're apprehending him, like he's clearly shocked, doesn't know what's going on. He's yelling for help. They never fully explain what they're doing.
Anything.
So they came up to him, hey, dude, turn around. And they're not telling him. He's like, for what? He's asking questions.
Right.
This is part of the problem with the power trip that some of these officers are on.
Sure.
Because in reality, when you're responding to a situation where you're about to deal with, in this case, someone who has no idea what's going on. Minding his own business. He's expected
at home.
At home. He's expected to immediately comply without you ever giving any kind of information. I'm supposed to just, okay, cool. What's happening? Like I haven't done anything. I know I haven't done any crime.
Right.
So at a minimum, and then you're not even sure who you're looking for.
Bruh.
So
he probably didn't even want to take the fucking trash out. His wife was probably like, yo.
His girl was clearly in the shower.
Right,
She was
like,
clearly in the shower.
And she probably told him, like, the trash needs to go out there.
Right. And he was like,
I just don't want to hear him out no more.
Right.
Let
Like,
me
I'm
go
just
out. Bitch, go take the trash out.
Could you imagine the conversations after that? Like, see, I didn't want to take the shit out to begin with.
I'd be like, from now on,
You got the trash out. No more. The trash is never going out.
Fucking trash.
I'm throwing it out the window. I don't care. Dog. But nah, I'm just like.
But then it gets even worse though,
Right.
because on the was on the radio or the 911 operator, somebody ends up, like, the person who originally called it in comes to them and says,
Yeah.
that's not the person.
Right.
I don't know how that came into play. I don't
She
know.
ran. She ran out there.
Okay.
She saw them, and in the middle of what's going on,
Said that's not the
she's
person.
yelling and saying, "This is not the guy." Right.
And these fuckers are still
Because the problem was, here's the two problems with this. One, it started with racial profiling. Just call it what it is. They saw a black guy because remember,
black guys don't take out trash.
right?
Oh,
And
they're
then
trash men.
All they do is commit crimes. Because think about it. They said in the police report and on the thing that they did not give a race of the person.
Sure.
So now you're 3 blocks away from where it happened.
You're assuming.
And you see a black guy on the street and you're like,
Right.
is this the guy? I don't know.
Gotta be.
Let's stop him.
Right.
And then when you go to stop him, you don't even approach him.
Worse than I don't know. It was probably.
Probably, right? But here's the worst part of it, right? You're approaching him knowing that you're going into it unsure, but you approach him with the complete certainty like he was the guy.
know, yeah.
If he completely fit the description, right? If you were looking for a black guy with white t-shirt and blue jeans in front of this building and you saw him,
I get it.
I'm with you.
Right,
Because he, time, place, and circumstance. He matches the description that you're looking for at the location.
Right. It would justify at least some questioning, at the very least.
Not even just, it would justify a more aggressive response. I would agree with you that their response would have been justified if he was fitting the description and at the location.
Sure.
But when you're 3 blocks away and you have a vague description, all you see is a guy, just man,
Dog.
human, just
Dog.
person.
What that tells me, honestly, is that the way that a lot of police, I can't say all, but the way that a lot of police target suspects is we just have to say that we've solved something, so let's go find somebody to fit into this description. We can create it, and you see it time after time, right? You see it with the exonerated 5 from New York that were originally the Central Park 5, right? Like, it's like we've got to fit someone into what we're looking for, and I don't care who it is. If it's Rich today, it's Rich today. If it's Cupid tomorrow, it's Cupid tomorrow. And let's just do that because at that point in time, my numbers look good. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is, but that's how it's coming across.
That's how it looks.
Every time I look at one of these situations, I'm like, bro, you had no description.
Right.
And the nigga's taking out fucking trash.
Right. He's doing a household chore
That nobody wants to fucking do.
3 blocks away from where you're supposed to be going. Now, that's bad enough. His girlfriend comes out, ass naked,
Titty swinging, cause
she's so
fearful
of what's going on
Yes.
that she just doesn't even try to put clothes on, runs downstairs
in a robe
to try to get the situation. Then the complainant, the person that called you, is like, hey, that's not
the
him.
guy.
So at that point, nobody involved in that altercation said, whoa, all right, everybody stop. So hold on, what? This is not the guy?
Right.
Because what you have is you're so engaged in tussling and wrestling with this guy because he resisted. And really, he didn't resist because you unlawfully stopped him. So
Facts.
at this point, he's not resisting anything. He is defending himself against an attack. You're attacking him, and he is like, yo, and he's never fought. He didn't fight back. Like when you watch the whole video, he's not fighting back. He's resisting and he's yelling for help. He wants someone to help because I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I was taking the trash out, and then these 2 guys. So
I couldn't imagine being at home. And granted, this is not DC.
yeah.
But like, I couldn't imagine being at home, taking my trash out, and an officer trying to stop me. I don't know what my reaction would be.
Right. And not even just tries to stop you. Like, it's one thing if you came up to me like, hey, sir, where you know,
Right.
If it's 2 of you and one of him, right? If you guys came up, stood next to him and just questioned him a little bit,
Right.
to try to determine,
Right.
I could even see that because I'm like, whoa, nah, that ain't me, blah, blah, blah. How long you, let's talk. You could
Something.
even, while you're figuring it out. You immediately went to turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't do anything.
I'm automatically the suspect.
Right. Like, I didn't do anything.
I'm guilty of the crime already.
And the worst parts are two things. One, the actual suspect ended up being a white guy. Which, let's be real, has actually been the usual suspect in a lot of shit. Like, for as much as we're the usual suspect,
Bruh.
dog, the lookout for white guys has gone as you. At this point, you should probably be stopping more of them than us. Honestly,
Dog.
honestly,
Dog.
right?
That should be the go-to.
Right.
It's a black guy. He probably can do it.
He's not doing it. It's definitely a white guy. Right.
Right.
Two, at this point that you're tussling with this guy, you never even got to the guy who the call was for. So it was a domestic. Oh, he's still wailing away on his wife. Like,
Bro.
Oh, they're down there beating up a black guy. And you know what I mean? Like, he's free for 3 blocks away to do whatever he wants to because you have devoted all of your attention
To this person who is not even fucking guilty.
Right. So that was case number 1, right? That happened last March.
I think I need to pause for a second.
All right.
Because that boils my blood already, dog.
And the worst part of it is you may need to pause only because for me it gets progressively worse. Like,
oh, it totally does.
Yeah,
I know all the stories we're gonna talk about, right? Like,
that's
so,
what I'm saying. Like, so I'm thinking about like how it went. It gets progressively worse.
And let's talk to you all for a second. If this is going to trigger you, we apologize. Like, I know we jumped into conversation. It's a lot of this going on this week, as you all know. So if you need to pause. If you need to stop. Whatever it is. But the rest of the conversation is just going to get worse. And I think that it's like, I'm going to try to find ways to make it a little lighthearted because I can't have these conversations for too long. But it's really hard to find things to laugh at when people who look like you and me are getting...
When it's at this point, I like, for me, at this point, it's, yes, we try to keep it lighthearted, but there are aspects of this that I think... I'm so irritated at this point that I don't know. I don't think I can. I will say this, and for you guys, we're not going to show any of the graphic portions of any of the videos because I feel like we've been traumatized. We
don't got time for that shit.
And we've dealt with enough of this visual trauma as is.
Right.
We're not about that. There's no shock value or anything.
Plus, I'll even go as far as say this. I know we talked about this before we started recording, but like, we're also not trying to just regurgitate what everyone else is regurgitating anyway. Right, absolutely. Our whole purpose is to look at it from a different perspective, even if that's coming from somewhat of a balanced headspace. But it ain't about to just to report on niggas getting killed and harassed by cops.
Right. So
number two.
This was last March, right? And the thing about this, there was body cam footage that they would not release.
Of course not.
Right? So the reason why a lot of people didn't hear this full story, they may have heard the beginning of the story last March, the body cam footage only recently got released.
Right.
So...
And if I'm not mistaken, it only recently got released because the young man and his legal team fought to get it released because they were like, y'all need to make sure people see what actually happened.
Absolutely.
Right.
So then last December, here in the DMV in Virginia, we had a...
Do we know what part of Virginia it was? Because I know I can't be Northern Virginia.
No. It's Virginia.
It's got to be like
it's red state Virginia.
Right.
It's Yosemite Sam, Virginia. It's Trump country, Virginia. You know in Virginia it is.
It's General Lee, Virginia.
Right. It's the Confederacy. It's the head of the Confederacy, Virginia.
Okay.
All right. This ain't Trey.
This ain't Arlington. This ain't Clarendon.
Right. So we got this scenario.
Get out the car! Get out of the car now! Keep your hands outside the window. Car now. What's going on? You're fixing to ride the lightning, son.
Just get out the car. Work with us and we'll talk to you. Get out the car.
You received an order. Obey it.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I?
Yeah, you should be. Get out. Get out.
Get out the car.
Get out now.
I have not committed any crime.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest for you're being detained. Okay, you're being detained for obstruction of justice.
Traffic violation. I do not have to get out the vehicle. You haven't even told me why I'm being stopped. Don't do that,
sir. Get out of the car now.
Hey, sir.
Get out of the car now.
Sir, look.
I'm trying to talk
Get out.
to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm
talk.
gonna talk.
Get out.
Just get out of my
Relax.
car.
Can you please
Get out.
relax? Can
Get
you
out.
Please relax.
Get out of the car right now.
This is
Now.
not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're gonna treat me.
Back up, Daniel.
I didn't do anything.
Back up.
Whoa, hold on.
Daniel.
What's going? Hold on. You watch it.
Get out of the car. Get on the ground or you're getting sprayed again. Get on the ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
Get on the
going
ground. Get on the ground now.
Can you please talk to me
Get on
about what's
ground.
going
Get on
on?
ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
Yes, sir.
going on?
You're not.
All right, so we just watched that. Here's the problem with this, and I'm gonna post some of these on the Instagram
only
page. Yeah, I mean,
There's so many
there's
fucking
so
problems.
many problems.
There's so many
Right.
problems.
All right, so this happened last December,
Right.
right? Let's take his military service out of it.
Right, because that doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter, right? You're pulling him over for he has no tag in the back of his car.
Allegedly.
Right? Well, no. He has no tag on affixed to the license plate.
That's
That's
different.
factual, right? No tag affixed, right?
Right.
So you as a cop, you see him drive by, he ain't got no license plate.
Sure.
Flip your lights on, try to pull him over. He drives for
Mile and a half, I think it was.
mile and a half, doesn't stop. Now, he doesn't speed off or try to dip into any, he just
Sure.
continues to drive and then he pulls over at a gas station.
Sure.
So he pulls over to what he said was a well-lit area.
Yep.
Now, from the point of view of the officer, the first one, I'm gonna go with the young guy, right? This dude, I don't know what he was doing for that mile and a half that he wasn't pulling over, but now I need to elevate my level of response to this traffic
Right.
stop.
The potential threat is higher now.
Right, because I don't know what happened. I don't know what he did. I don't know if this was the setup for the ambush. I don't know if he was stashing. I don't know
We
what
don't
happened.
know. We don't know what's going on.
Right. Passenger. So, backtrack. Young cop gets out. He calls it in as a felony traffic stop, and he
Right.
comes out with his gun out. Right. Passenger. He was just waiting for a well-lit area to stop. You're on a dark street. You know, dark road. Some of these areas in Virginia don't have a lot of street lights.
Sure.
So you wait till you get to a gas station. A lot of people do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal. You're actually told that you don't have to stop immediately.
Right.
Now, you don't, again, speed off like you're trying to escape, but you can, for your safety and for the safety of the officer, you can wait till you see a more well-lit place
Sure.
to pull over, right? So that's what he's doing. Being courteous to the officer and himself. Getting somewhere where
Both of us can
we
feel
can
safe.
Right, we can both feel safe. So you get out, gun out. Now I'm sitting in my car, and I thought I was doing the right thing.
Right.
And there's a gun out.
Right.
So I'm like, whoa.
Oh, hey, we got to add the commands in there too.
We ain't even had the commands yet.
Okay.
Because remember, there's the first command, get out of the car or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, I
don't feel safe. I
don't feel safe.
I don't feel comfortable.
I don't
I'm
feel
not doing
comfortable
that.
with
I'm not
this.
doing that. You're right. And I will say also the commands were very mixed right afterwards.
Right.
It was like, put your hands out the window, but it was also turn the car off.
And you know what the problem with that was? Instead of just one of them giving command.
Oh, it's another one now.
Right, because you could see what happened was, watching that tape, little young guy, he was trying to just do everything by the books. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
Sure.
Then you had this old piece of shit curmudgeon.
Boisterous.
Right, just
Fat.
just-
Should never be on the force.
just,
No offense to fat people.
nah, all offense to fat people on this one.
No
fat people in
offense to
general.
fat people in general, but
Right,
like,
just
like
this one,
like, yo,
just this one.
honestly, I'm
Right.
sorry if you're an officer, right? And I know this because I know some officers. There is a test that you take when you get onto the police force, but then a lot of the physical pieces of the test aren't required to stay
Right.
on
So-
the force.
right,
So you can be fit as hell when you first start 20 years ago, and then
And
20
this
years
was-
now you
right.
just fat and you eating
And
hot dogs.
and this was an old guy that clearly didn't have, and so he immediately elevated to level 10. Like, young guy was still, because
I would say young guy was at about a 6 or 7.
right, he was at about a 6 or 7, which I think is appropriate for this scenario.
Right, for sure. And he was at a good distance from the car.
Right.
I'm fine with guns being out if your mindset is
A certain
this might
place.
be an issue.
Right. Because it was not like I flipped the lights on and you pulled over.
Right.
You drove for another mile and a half and then you pulled over. I don't know what I'm stepping into. So,
but Fat Man Scoop came in the motherfucker and just
escalated it all. And this was a case of an individual who, one, has authority and command issues. Like he immediately felt like, I'm the police, you need to listen. He actually told him, you need to obey. Right. Which is a term that
we have with our children.
Or dogs. Animals.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like I've never told a human being my age or around
you
that,
need to obey.
You need to obey. Like that's
so like that is
bruh.
I actually don't even tell my kids.
Right.
You need to obey.
Right. Like, so you require obedience from things that are subservient to you, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at the body language and the way he like immediately, even when he addressed him about his rank, he immediately went with, were you a specialist or a corporal? Meanwhile, he's a lieutenant. Now, in fairness.
Nigga, I'm a lieutenant.
Right. Now, in fairness, right? Typically.
He's a young guy.
So right. They're about the same age, right?
Nah, so, he's actually
not they're about the same age. Meaning the age to be a corporal or a specialist.
Oh, I see.
Could be around the same age as a lieutenant, just because you can
depending on how you
depending on your career path. Right, you could have went straight through college, graduated, went through OCS, and then boom. So
or straight into boot camp.
Right,
and
you could you could be about that age.
Yep,
fair enough. But you immediately went with.
Right.
Your corporal is like you immediately tried to demote him.
I get it. I'm not gonna look at Mark Zuckerberg if I didn't know who he was and expect he's the CEO of a company.
Right.
So I get it.
So when you get to the car now, and he told you, honestly, sir, I'm a little scared. Oh, you ought to be.
You should be, dog.
Or you should be like, why?
Dog. Like the idea that an officer even has in his psyche that people should fear me.
Right.
Tells me you shouldn't be on the force.
Absolutely. Like that, you have given away the game there, sir.
Like,
you've given away your whole you have put all your cards on the table in that one statement.
Right, like, wait, I thought
right.
that the reason that you're supposed to be here is to make me feel safe.
Exactly.
And not me personally, but like
the community.
The community.
Right.
I'm a part of the community, so therefore I shouldn't be fearful of you
at all. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, what you should have said is, sir, you have no reason to be afraid of me, but I do need you to comply with my directives.
That's it.
And honestly, that alone would have, at least in my mind, it wouldn't have changed.
It would have helped de-escalate.
It would have helped de-escalate the situation, and it would have shown that, look, I'm not here to be your enemy,
right?
But I am giving you some direction I need you to follow. So now here we got the problem of two officers yelling at you,
right,
with their guns out. And here's the problem with that: when two people are yelling at you with their guns out, and you don't know who to listen to. And you don't even believe you should have been stepping out the car because in your mind, I don't even know what y'all pulling me over for. I haven't done anything, right?
I think there's another layer too. You add into the fact that niggas are getting shot by cops.
No, that's
seems like a very alarming rate these days.
That's not even another layer. That's the layer we're on. That's the layer I'm on.
Well, you didn't say it. So
but I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm like two cops outside, guns drawn at you. Yelling directions, and the directions are maybe they're not completely opposite,
right.
but they're confusing.
Right.
You don't have one clear voice telling you what to do.
Sure.
And then
and all of it's aggressive.
All of it's aggressive.
Nothing is calm.
And on top of that, when I say to you I'm scared, right? When I say to you I'm scared,
you tell me
I ought to be. Right. And I'm definitely not getting out the car now.
I'm not moving, dog.
Right.
My hands are staying right here. Yup.
So with all of that. Then you got the nerve. Oops, sorry. Then you got the nerve. Keep forgetting we supposed to put these on silent. This was me this time. Wasn't white boy this time. This was me.
Party foul.
Right.
Go ahead.
So then you got the nerve to pepper spray him because he's not compliant.
Bro, okay, so I hate to make that part the light part. He was so bad at pepper spraying him too. Like he took the pepper spray out. Didn't know how to actually get it to activate right away. And I'm sitting there like, all right, so this soldier, I'm gonna call him a soldier. I don't care if he's a lieutenant or not. This soldier's sitting in his driver's seat, hands outside the window. If you truly believe that he's a threat, the fact that you fumbled a few times with your pepper spray before you sprayed him, you spray him. He keeps his hands outside the vehicle the entire time. So at some point you gotta realize, all right, maybe this nigga's not really that deadly or dangerous. Like
no, but you could tell he was ready to escalate because if you remember when he came up, he was like, "Oh, you fixing to ride the lightning, son." So I'm like, "But you gonna tase him?"
That's another story.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We still here. So I'm like, you already. It's two of you, one guy.
Right.
You're already talking about using whatever tools you have at your disposal.
Right.
In a situation where all he's doing right now, his hands are out of the car.
He's actually complying outside of.
He's not getting out of the car, but his hands are out of the car. You can see them. So to me,
and there's no one else in the vehicle except for his fucking dog.
Right. So to me, you have the opportunity to get closer to the car, explain the situation a little bit. You still tell him he has to get out.
Right.
Right? But you're explaining to him why.
Right.
Because if you take a more because he's asking questions.
Sure.
So you're well within your ability. Keep your guns out.
But so I hear you. I hear you. The fact of the matter is, I'm not even going to say keep your guns out because if you look at the video, as you've already seen, both officers put their guns away.
No, yeah.
So they both actually already realized this is not a dangerous fucking situation
anymore. That's what I'm saying. They absolutely got to a point where they realized, At
that point, I'm like, why are we still here?
Because if you got to the point where you could put your guns away, I can stand here and talk to you and explain to you because I've realized that you know what, you're not a threat. The problem is, just like the problem in the first one, once they got to 100,
right.
And not they. I got to bring it back to Fat Boy. Sure. Once he got to 100, he would not bring it back down to 50 where he could talk. So once those guys got their hands on that guy in LA, even when they're being told, this ain't the guy, they could not bring it back down to say, okay, we're sorry, sir. Hey, they could not rationalize that de-escalation.
Sure.
They had to continue and follow through with getting him on the ground, getting handcuffed. Same thing with this guy. Yeah. They dragged him out the car, got him on the ground, even after you've pepper sprayed him and you got him out the car, why did he need to get on the ground and get in handcuffs? At this point, is it what? Is it just to exert dominance? Is it just because he has been compliant?
He's been compliant.
No. Let me not say compliant.
He's been compliant.
No, because compliant is a different term.
Sure.
He has not been. He has not been aggressive. He's just. He told you he's scared, and he is just not complying. But he's not being aggressive. Right. But he's not being aggressive. So even once you've gotten him out the car, even if you want to put handcuffs on him, right? While he's standing, what was the point of getting him on the ground? He's pepper sprayed. He's disoriented. You see it. His eyes are closed. He's like this. You got him out the car, just put the handcuffs on him.
Right.
Why do you need to get him on the ground? It was, again, more of this, this was in my mind at the start.
Yeah.
So now I need to follow through with this action, regardless of how unnecessary it is at this point.
I will say, and this is me putting my feet in Fat Man Scoop's shoes.
His old leaning
in New Balance. He got to be wearing some New Balance or them them dad Nikes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The garden joints.
Yeah.
My only thought there is, he knew that even though he wasn't being aggressive, that this dude could still whip my ass. He knew it. Ultimately, he knew it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right?
But at the same time,
and again, this is not a justification. I believe that is what goes through their heads when they're like, all right, even though you've done nothing to tell me that you're going to be aggressive, you still need to get on the floor.
So there's a certain level where it becomes, okay, hey, I need to put you at a position of disadvantage because I don't know what you're going to do, right? Mm-hmm. So I totally get the idea of, you know what, I don't want you standing up, walking around. Sit down, cross your feet or whatever.
Sure.
Just be somewhere where you can't just jump up and swing on me, right? The problem was with this one, you have kind of already acknowledged that he's not a threat, right?
That's it.
You have already acknowledged that through your actions.
Right.
So at this point, anything that you're doing is just extra just to do it.
You're just being a dick.
Completely unnecessary. And then there's another video of the after conversation where they're trying to like you said, Monday morning quarterback, they're trying to explain to him, well, sir, had you done this, we could have done this and blah, blah, blah. And it would have been a 2-minute traffic stop and all that stuff. It probably should have still been that.
Right.
Even with him not getting out the car. And to be fair, what a lot of people don't know is that legally, the police can order you out of your vehicle if they have a reason to pull your car over.
Sure.
The Supreme Court case is Pennsylvania versus Mims.
All right, Mr. Research, Mr. Google.
No, telling you just so that no one, because I don't want in the comments somebody saying.
I think you're sharing good information.
Right. I don't want in the comments somebody say no, they can't. Like yes, they absolutely can.
Because I honestly didn't know that until you told me that earlier this week.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay.
If they have a reason to pull you over,
right,
they can order you out of your car.
Right.
And further expanded on that was Maryland versus Wilson, where they can order every person in the vehicle out of the car.
Right.
So that is so we can dispel the misconception that they cannot make you get out of the car. They absolutely can. They have the Supreme Court authority to do it.
Sure.
Now, does the average motorist know that? No. So it would take you a few minutes to explain the situation to the person.
Sure.
And that would actually save you as an officer the time of getting into the physical tussle. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally makes your job easier.
I'm gonna tell you right now. And granted, I know I'm not the typical guy who gets stopped.
Right.
But I get stopped by a cop, and a cop says, "Can you get out the vehicle?" And I feel like I don't need to get out the vehicle.
Right.
And if this dude drops, I don't know the
right Supreme Court cases he's dropping.
He starts naming. I was about to say Plessyburg.
Right. Whatever. Like,
which is close.
And anything. Here's the crazy thing though. He could be lying. Right. I can sit here and say Plessy versus Ferguson of 1927 says if I have you.
But if he says it,
if you say it with confidence,
I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get out.
Right, my nigga. If you say anything with confidence and the other person doesn't know, in that moment they be like, you know what? I don't really know, but that sounds legit.
You know, can you imagine inner city DC? Yo, Brown versus Board of Education says that you gotta get out the vehicle.
Nah, dog. He gonna get that one dude gonna be like, no, it doesn't.
Right. I'm like, nah, nigga.
No, it doesn't. Like, nah, I tried it. Right. Go on, you get to go though. No, in DC, that's how that stop would go. Right. A DC cop, that's exactly how that stop would go. Be like, all right, you got it, dog. Go on. So all right. So we got that, right? Here's the bad part of how that ended.
Oh, there's only one?
No. When I say the bad part of how that ended, it's super problematic.
I'm waiting to hear what yours is because I have a counter if it's not this.
Okay, so it's super problematic. So now the Army lieutenant sued the department.
Sure.
Once he sued the department, the tape surfaced. Now remember I said this happened in December.
Sure.
Recently, within the last couple of days, that officer was fired.
Yep.
Fat Boy, I don't know about the little one, but Fat Boy was fired, right?
No, the little one wasn't, but he's on, there's something else
right.
with
okay.
it. Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. This happened in December,
right?
And you as a department have had this body cam
sitting
footage
on that
since December. Y'all have seen it. You didn't fire him then.
Sure.
You didn't fire him till now. We're in April.
Sure.
You only fired him because the shit became public. So you as a department were totally okay with this.
Because it's trash.
Right.
So I'm gonna say two things. So one, the counter. So it's two bad things that happened with this. You had your one. Mine is gonna be he didn't get a fucking ticket.
Right.
So what I'm saying is all of that shit, and then you let him off.
Right.
That's problematic to me. That's really problematic to me. The other part is kind of what you're talking about, the fact that, this happened in December, the department was fine, clearly with all of this until now that it's public, tells me that a lot of departments, and it's not just this one I know, but a lot of departments are really looking at this from the standpoint of, you did fine. It doesn't really matter what you do. This is our job to scare whoever the fuck we want to scare and protect the ones who we feel need to be protected. And ultimately, once it doesn't become mainstream media, you're fine continuing to do that shit.
Right. And the problem with that is, because it's still back to my point, was that we don't know how often this happens. That does not.
It has to happen often.
Right. Or maybe not often, but it has to happen more often than not. Or maybe not more often than not. Maybe not more often than not.
I'm going to say often, and I'm going to also throw in the caveat that, the judicial system in itself is one that the cards are stacked against people who do not have money.
It is.
Right? And I only say that because I'm almost certain, without even looking at the numbers, I'm almost certain that at least 6 or 7 out of 10 times, if it's a young black person getting stopped by a cop in that area of Virginia, right? They know they can get away with this shit because that young black person, even if they don't get a ticket, don't have the means to hire legal representation that's going to cause havoc in court. And that's problematic in itself because essentially what happens, and it doesn't matter what the crime is, whether you're guilty or you're innocent, if you have representation, the outcome of whatever the situation looks a lot different. So you can be as innocent as you want to be, right? If you don't have legal representation, you're technically guilty in the eyes of everyone else. But you can be guilty as fuck, have legal representation, and get a slap on the wrist because the court or the judicial system doesn't want to deal with.
And they can negotiate better on your behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that I agree with everything you're saying, right? And I think the bigger picture, it might not even be the bigger picture, but then the rest of the story is like, we don't know how often this is happening in that area. Right. And I can't say all across the U.S., right?
Sure,
we're dealing with these. We're dealing with this shit department by department right now. So we're going to talk to them. Because they had this information. Now, had he been fired prior to the lawsuit, then I had no problem with that. Because I'd have been like, you know what? They identified a situation where an individual did X, Y, and Z wrong.
Held them accountable,
dealt with it.
move forward.
But they didn't.
Right.
So that brings us back to the accountability part of it.
Right.
When you're doing it because it's making public news, that's not accountability. That's CYA. That's you covering your ass.
Sure.
That's you just saying, you know what, we don't want this smoke. So you're actually not creating the right culture yet.
Right.
The culture you're creating is, shoot.
If I get seen.
Right. If you get seen, this you might have to go. But other than that, you good.
So here's the thing though, right? Like, and I will say from the department standpoint, it's super dicey because it's a CYA on both sides. It's if I seen this video, I see that it's a problem, I fire this officer, now I have to deal with the union. The police union. I'm not saying it's okay or it's not okay, but I have to deal with the police union. If I wait, maybe the person never complains about it, we can brush this under the rug. But if the person complains about it, it becomes a public story. Now, sorry, dog.
Right.
You out.
Here's the problem with that model of thinking, right? As a department.
Oh, I'm already with you.
Yeah. As a department, you should be fully prepared to let that union try to fight to get that officer's job back.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, you all have collectively bargained, and the reality becomes, you as the department still have the final say.
Sure.
The union can fight it, and if the union can prove that somehow what you did was inappropriate, but if you look at that tape.
Yep.
Because the reality is the union can fight it now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in reality, you've actually empowered the union more because they can say.
Because you didn't fire him before.
Like y'all saw the tape.
Being negligent.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, bro, don't get it twisted. So if I was a part, and granted, I'm not a police officer, but if I was a part of the department, I'd be like, look, let us at least still be on the right side of history, even if the union's able to fight this and we have to keep him employed. Because at least let us be able to show we tried to fight them. We tried to fight this nigga, and
let me tell you, I'm pointing all my fingers at the union.
At the union, exactly.
I'd have been like, no, blame them. We fired him. We don't want him here.
Right.
We fired him. They fought to get his job back, and unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
I'm pointing all the fingers at them.
But we're clearly bigger thinkers. And we're thinking
not just that we're bigger thinkers. The problem is the departments are in league with the union, so they don't care.
Right.
And like you said, if he did not get caught, if this lawsuit did not go public, this tape would not get released.
Talked about.
He would have still been on the job.
Right.
So now,
number 3.
Now we're on to the last one.
This is the worst of
that
them
we're
all.
going to talk about today. That, like we said, they've gotten progressively worse. This happened 2 days ago, as of the day that we filmed this. Young man, Daunte Wright. He was so real quick telling the story. He was driving. He had an air freshener hanging in his car, hanging in his window,
hanging off his rear view mirror.
And I think he had like no registration or something, or expired registration, whatever the case was.
I'm not sure what it was.
Right.
Actually, I don't think that was part of the reason for the stop. I think the stop was
initially the stop was initially the
air freshener.
The air freshener. So they pulled him over. I think he did not immediately stop. They were able to run the tag. They realized he had a warrant, right?
Yep. But you would not have been able to realize that until you got his license, though.
Right. They ran him, realized he had a warrant. They went to place him under arrest.
Yep.
And in the process of arresting him,
he jumps back in the car.
He decides he doesn't want to go to jail. He gets into the scuffle with them.
Yep.
Jumps back in the car.
Can't really call it a scuffle. He just got out of there.
Right. When I say a scuffle, I mean they had hands on him.
Right.
And he scuffled his way out of it.
When I hear scuffle, I hear like someone else being in danger in some capacity.
Right. They didn't get into a fight. He shook his way out of it.
Right.
And
hit him with the neon and just
got back in the car. They're tussling with him to get him out of the car. Female officer. They're yelling at him. She yells taser like she's gonna tase him, but pulls out her
sidearm
and shoots him.
Right. Realizes immediately that it was not her taser.
It was not her taser because she said it. She was like, "Oh shit, I shot him," or "Oh fuck, I shot him," whatever she said. And he dies. Right.
Yep.
Protests have erupted back in Minneapolis again.
Even here in D.C.
But I'm saying this of all places, this was in Minneapolis.
10 miles away from
where the Derrick Chauvin trial is happening. It was the day that I think George Floyd's family was testifying or something along those lines. Yeah, it was a bad day for Minneapolis in general. And this was just a situation where so to be clear, right? I will say, I believe, based on watching the video,
sure,
it's probably an accident, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I still think that something needs to happen because you cannot accidentally kill someone and there be no consequence. Like, I don't care what your job is or who you are, what you're doing. I think if you accidentally kill someone...
I'm going to stop you here. Mm. The only profession right now that you can accidentally kill someone and get away with it is law enforcement.
Doctor.
But no, because at least, I hear where you're coming from, but, because I thought about that first. Mm. A doctor can accidentally kill someone, they still get a lawsuit, and then they have a ton of insurance to actually cover it.
And that would still happen here. He's still going to be a lawsuit. There's just that there's not the insurance that pays it.
Right. The difference is, though, at least for the most part, when a doctor accidentally kills someone, it's not like a doctor trying to kill someone.
Right.
Right?
But that's an accident. So I would say that this was... That's why, again, I'm still saying that this was an accident. It's still an accident. I don't think that
there's a spectrum of accident.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Right, but I don't think
because I'm with you. Like I get it.
I don't think that she went to that situation.
I can agree with that.
Right. So, but again, the problem is because we're not equating one thing to the next. I'm saying that there still needs to be some sort of repercussion for this because you cannot tell me that you're a 26-year veteran. And so I'm not going to get into the debate. First of all, let me backtrack a little bit, right? I'm not getting... I hate the social media sites and the clickbait sites that
I'm with you.
That do their job to try to...
Clickbait.
Right. To make us angrier than necessary. Where, like, you spread the story, you start with, black man killed by cop
because of air freshener.
Or over air freshener. And it's
right.
You can tell the actual story and it still be bad.
Dog.
You can tell the actual story and be right. He was not killed over an air freshener, right? And then you have the Sean Kings who monetize our trauma to his benefit as much as he can. Why? Yeah, everybody knows I don't like Sean King, but...
Neither of us do.
But who highlights the weed warrant and it's like, did you say anything about the gun warrant? Not to say that none of it
justifies
it, but
what it was,
I'm like, tell the story. Right? Because you can tell the story and still
get everyone's sympathy.
You don't need to be overly inflammatory. Sure. So we don't need to pretend like it was like when you read the headline, you think oh, he was driving with the air freshener and they walk up to the car and shot him. That's not what happened.
Right.
The warrant was not just for a dismissed weed charge. At least that's not what the New York Times is reporting.
Right.
They're saying it was a different warrant. It's all irrelevant.
Yep.
Because she still should not have shot him. So that's still true. That's still the fact of this, right? So my problem right now is, what do we do? Like, what needs to be done?
Yeah. So I have two things that I think of off the top of my head, and it's not really to answer your question, but just two things that pop off when it comes to this, right? Actually, probably three. Let's start with the beginning though, right? The first one that bothers me the most is that because the officer who shot him was a woman, it's created an immediate scapegoat for the officers who might be like, we need to make a change for some reason, right? Like, and follow me here. Any change, and this is me now putting on my work hat, any change that needs to happen within an organization, within a company, whatever it is, there's a cultural piece that has to be a part of it, right? Most people don't like change, and most people are going to fight it, right? So essentially what I tend to tell my clients is like, all right, we need an executive sponsor who is going to be the cheerleader about whatever the change is, and it needs to trickle down. It needs to be from the leadership, almost forcing everyone beneath them to change, right? We can say that I think across the board, leadership in police departments have not quite shown that level of leadership that's necessary.
Not true, but go ahead.
And when I say across the board, I don't mean every single one, but
I think not to. Okay, I think the problem is not the leadership. The problem is what you said before. It's the police unions.
Right.
So I think the problem ends up being
I'm with you. But let's be real here, right? And we'll take police unions, sure. Part of true leadership is getting the unions on board. Like, look, we don't fight each other. We're together on this, right? Like, we've got it, and I get it. Like, I'm not saying it's an easy feat, but what I'm saying though is ultimately, as someone who has worked in utilities where there is heavy union, and I've dealt with enough union leadership who wants to get their shit done their way and they don't care what the company's doing. End of the day though, if you're happy and I'm not happy, we're not happy. It's like a marriage, right? If I'm happy and you're not happy, we're not happy. We both have to come together in some capacity and lead down, right? And that's kind of the point I'm making, right? So take it back to the point about it being a female cop. I feel like a lot of male officers will take this as an excuse to be like, this is why we don't need female officers on the job. They won't look at it from the standpoint of, you know what, our policies are kind of fucked up, our procedures are kind of fucked up, our training is not adequate. It's easy to be like, scapegoat, it was her. Because we were out here and we didn't do shit. It was her who pulled the gun on him and shot him. Right? Yeah. And I think that's a really, really big issue because it seems to almost be on every single one except for the Chauvin case so far, for me at least. There's always a scapegoat. There's always someone who we can blame this shit on. And we never get to focus on, well, maybe we just haven't been fucking policing properly for the last however many years.
Right. But even with that, even with this one, I can agree with what you're saying. I think the scapegoat is not even going to be the female cop.
Okay.
The scapegoat is going to be the usual scapegoat. He shouldn't have resisted. He shouldn't have tried to run. Sure. That's going to be the scapegoat.
Sure.
They're not even going to, that may be a secondary thought because, for the male officers who were on scene who did not pull anything.
Right.
They were ready to, and I was completely all for, okay, he's scuffling, drag him out the car because you're doing what you got to do, he doesn't want to go to jail, you're taking him to jail.
Right.
That's a tug of war, back and forth. Let the strongest person win, right?
And you can see.
Right.
The police officers
were, and they were bigger.
He was frail.
He was small. They were bigger than him. It was three of you.
He looking like Majito.
Y'all could have got him out that car.
Easily.
Right.
She could have probably got him out the car.
Right. Like y'all could have. So I don't think she's even going to get scapegoated as much as it's going. The narrative from the people are going to be, and you know who the people are. Sure. Is going to be more of a, well, if he had just complied, well, why did he try to end? Right. I could even give you, yes, that is probably true. Had he complied, it would not have happened.
Sure.
But like I always say, two things can be true.
Yes.
Yes, had he complied, that might not have happened. She still didn't have to shoot him.
Oh.
She still didn't even have to, let's say tase him. She did not have to tase him.
Sure.
It didn't need to get there.
Right.
Had she put the fucking taser away and put 2 hands on his fucking chest,
boom,
they would have dragged him out of that car.
Was.
You know what I mean?
And on the real,
that's
yes.
That's my problem. Where I'm like, is it a training thing? Is it a? That's what I'm like. What is the solution? What is the thing that we can point to and say, look,
as someone who really focuses on finding issues, looking at issues rather, and trying to figure out, all right, how do we deal with this, right? A lot of times, what we're dealing with are the symptoms of the issue, right? So the symptom of this issue is police brutality or people getting shot by cops, right? To me, where it becomes like the root cause piece, when we start to really dig deep down, some of it has to be training. Some of it has to be psych evaluation. Like to your point, the idea of I need to even pull out a taser right now,
right,
says to me that she's not in the headspace to be in that position right now. That like
or like you said, the training is inadequate to where maybe you're told because I don't see why, for me, if we got 3 of us there and he's trying to get back in the car,
right?
Because now here's what happens. He gets in the car, tries to pull off. I tase him, and now he's out of control and still fucking hits him. You know, they're like, why am I tasing him at this point? Anyway, he's getting into the car.
Right.
So if he puts it out of gear as I tase him, and now he doesn't have control over it, and he runs over a child,
then
that's still on me.
Right.
So I didn't shoot him, but I caused this situation.
And honestly, like,
because he's been tased, so now he's locked up for a second.
Right.
He's not able to control. So
and I look at that same situation, and I'm like. And again, I'm not an officer, so I can't sit there.
But we're looking at it from just common sense right now, right?
But like, I look at it and I'm like, all right, so even if the warrant is a weed warrant, a pistol warrant, but he hasn't shown that there's a weapon in the vehicle.
No, a homicide. He killed 3 people.
Whatever.
Right.
At that point, if he is somehow able to tussle his way out of our grasp, back in the car, let him drive. And we already have his tags.
Nah. I don't agree with you on that one.
You don't have to. Yeah. But like my mindset is we already have his tags. We can continue following him. I'm not saying let him go. We can continue following him, right? We can get to a point where we try to ascertain him in a way that is not, or apprehend, sorry. I say ascertain. Apprehend him in a way that nobody has to die.
Nah, let me stop you.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely wrong. Because you let him get back in that car, you're creating a much bigger.
I'm not saying let him get in the car.
No,
I'm saying
you said let him go.
No. I said if he gets in the car. When I said if he tussled, because
that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with you. If he's tussling, I don't want him getting back in the car.
No, I agree. What my point is, and I specifically said it. We can rewind it here. If he is somehow able to tussle his way back into the car without us getting him out, because to be honest with you, I don't think that it was even possible. But if he somehow figured out a way to tussle back in the car,
right? Yeah, but I mean, it's too late at that point. He's in the car, so I agree with you then.
Right. At that point, then it's like let's just follow him.
Right. No. Right.
That's our job. Just follow him.
He's back in the car at that point. But I'm thinking.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like,
I totally understand.
And I don't mind an officer hitting him once nice in his gut. Like,
and dog, this is the thing that this is what you said is exactly my point. You have the option. It's three of
you all,
and you're bigger than he is.
Two big ass niggas. Y'all
could have. There's no reason. I don't even understand how we. And again, we get back to the training thing. I think I was watching Undisputed today, right?
Okay.
Shannon and Skip. And Shannon Sharp brought up some very good points that I agree with.
He usually does.
He usually does.
That's my guy.
Especially when he's talking about the Cowboys. He's hilarious. So anyway.
Pew, 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 pew.
Anyway, so I think part of the problem is it starts with the training, right? That should not have been part of the training. If it's three of you there, he's unarmed, and we're testing him, just go hands on.
Right.
The three of you should be able
whoop his ass.
The three of you should be able to subdue him hands on.
Right.
So a taser should have never been called into.
Never needed.
Right. I don't know where your taser was among your equipment, but if your taser should not have been in a
on
place
the dominant side, period.
where you should be mistaking it with your firearm at all. At all.
Right.
All right. I was reading the New York Times, and they were saying that it's not it's not common, but it has happened in the past where an officer has
Oscar Grant, San Francisco.
Right. Where,
I remember
where they
that,
have
like Fruitvale Station, the movie.
Fruitvale, right.
Cried like a baby.
Right. So it has happened, but it should not be a thing that's acceptable.
Sure.
So there needs to be a level of training across the board where, like, okay, if your department uses tasers, we need to make sure that this does not happen. Right. You should never be pulling your gun thinking it's your taser. Sure. So where's your taser? Where do you have it? Like, where do you like?
For me, it's always gonna be on my left side.
Like, you know, dude, right. You should never get into a scenario where you could say, "Oh, I thought I pulled my taser out."
Right.
Absolutely not. Right. And the accountability needs to be more severe. So she resigned. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, I got some opinions on that.
And the chief resigned as well. I don't even know why he resigned. I think he resigned out of just, I don't want to deal with this no more.
You know what? He probably had his pension already set up. He's like, fuck it.
Right. No, I mean, he resigned because he's like, I'm not like, look, we in the middle of George Floyd. We got this. I'm good. I'm all the way good. I'm out. I'm done. So I don't even blame him for just not wanting
to be a part of this shit.
Right. So both of them resigned. But I believe that I don't think she's gonna get charged with any crime.
Really?
I don't. I just don't. It might happen.
That's sad.
No, I mean, it's just my thought.
I know. When I say sad, I just mean like if that is what actually happens, that fucking sucks.
It does. I just don't think.
It's just another life taken unnecessarily.
If she does get charged, I will be surprised.
Right.
I wouldn't be sad or anything about it. I'm just saying.
I feel like she might, but it's definitely not going to be a first, second, or third degree murder. I think it's going to be a manslaughter.
Like it might be. I don't know what their laws are in Minneapolis. If they have like an involuntary manslaughter, she might get charged with something like that. Where it's like a negligent homicide, whatever the equivalent is there, where it's like you're showing that your negligence led to this person's death.
Right.
I don't think she's going to get charged.
Right.
And even if she's charged, I don't think she's going to get convicted. That's just me.
Right.
Could be wrong.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
I think old Black Trauma ambulance chaser Crump is going to get the family some money. And I feel like that money needs to come out of the police pension. I think that it should not be.
I'm glad you said that.
Right. It should not be.
Because to answer your original question before we even got into this, like when you try to figure out like
what should happen?
We do,
right.
Like the system is set up in such a way where the officers are actually never held accountable.
Right.
And if the officer's never held accountable,
there's no reason.
Then there's really no reason for me to do any better, right? So
there's no reason for me to change, no matter what you do.
So every single time there's a settlement, every single time the people who sue the department wins, the people who actually pay for it are the citizens of whatever county, state, city, whatever it is, right?
So now my taxes pay for
right. So it's essentially the people who are upset at the officers for doing some shit to them
that end up
have to actually pay for the shit that the officers did to them. Like it makes no fucking sense.
Right.
So I'm with you. Like yes, I feel like whether between pensions, between like salaries,
funding, something like
everything that they have to use to fund their shit should be at the fucking table when it comes to paying for this shit.
And more importantly, I don't think the cities, because the money that the city gets for the department mostly comes from taxes anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't think the city should set up a fund for that. I think it should be,
not at all. It definitely shouldn't be.
It should be, hey, we have to pay out $20 million in this lawsuit.
Right.
So now we are cutting salaries, or now we are not hiring for the next year.
Or I'll give it to you this way: if it's the cities that have to pay for it, it needs to be something that the officers know that the money that is being set up is coming out of your money.
But here's the thing: it
still has to come out of their money.
Here's the thing: it needs to come directly, because let's be real. If you're working somewhere and your CEO tells you that, hey, we are paying for this.
Sure.
But your salary, your money isn't changing.
Sure.
That's not going to affect you the same way.
So I was looking at it a little bit differently. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of each year there's a pot of money that is set up, right? The incentive is if you all don't kill anybody and we don't have to settle any cases, the money can then just be dispersed,
bonuses or whatever.
Dispersed to the.
Nah, cause
Okay.
I mean, that might work, and I'm saying but that might be the way to do it. But I'm like, I just don't feel like rewarding people for not killing people like that. Like, there's something about that concept.
I'm with you.
Right,
I'm with you.
There's something about that concept that just the way you said it, I was like, nah.
Like from our standpoint, sure. But on the real,
I hear you.
If that's what gets them to stop killing people unnecessarily, like, yo, let's give them some more money.
No, I'm like the opposite. I'm like, let's take money away.
Both.
Right.
Both.
But no, here's the problem. You're taking away the bonus. So, right, I'm not taking away the bonus. I'm taking away your car note. I'm taking away your...
It's a means to an end for me.
But here's what I'm saying. It's still a means to an end. Because if you know... Here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you know that you going out there messing up and killing someone may affect my retirement in the future because now the money out of the pension fund is being used to pay out these lawsuits. And we're telling you guys, every lawsuit we pay out is coming out of this. So as people retire, what they're getting is going to be less. Or we're telling you our fund for this is going down, or we're losing vehicles. Like, we are literally losing because the city is not covering these lawsuits.
Right.
And so as a department, I'm saying if you do this, you're getting fired immediately. Like, we're not backing you up anymore.
Sure.
If X happens, we're not putting you on administrative leave and paying you. What we'll do is we'll put you on administrative leave unpaid.
No pay, right?
And then if it gets resolved in your favor, because
then you're good.
Then we'll back pay you,
yep,
right? But in the immediacy, you will be put on administrative leave without pay. So hopefully you've saved up, or what you would do is not get into these situations. And I'm not talking about just for average complaints. I'm not talking about for complaints of misconduct. Right. We're talking about you got into a shooting.
Right. Or you fucking pepper sprayed somebody.
Right. You got into a misconduct situation. And now there is a pending complaint, and it'll incentivize the departments to handle them more quickly because now you don't want someone sitting at home for 2-3 months not being paid. So you'll get to the bottom of it more quickly. And if you're found, like you said, if you're found to be cleared,
back pay all day.
You get back paid. And
matter of fact, I'll even throw a little sprinkling in there because I'll say why. Because if you truly aren't guilty, right? You did everything the way you were supposed to, right? You had to sit out, let's say 2-3 months without pay. Probably gonna be longer, but 2-3 months without pay, right? At that point,
it wouldn't even be that long. But go ahead. Because here's what I'm saying. I don't think
if it's super short and it doesn't actually become an inconvenience, that's one thing. But if these things get spread out, I will say if the person's actually not guilty, and I'm not saying not found guilty, but like actually not guilty, which that's where it becomes a little dicey, then I'll throw in what would be the interest rate on what you had to probably pay on credit cards and shit to cover.
Right. I'll do it like this. And again, we're all just spitballing ideas here, right? Of course. I would say from the time of the incident, right? We give the department a certain amount of time to come up with a finding so that we're not letting it drag out.
I see what you're saying.
So now the onus is on you to, at a minimum, the legal aspect is the legal aspect. But you as a department need to gather your findings because you're a place full of investigators. What do you think happened? If you believe that this officer acted appropriately based on because you can act appropriately based on our guidelines and still be civilly, like the civil is something different.
That had nothing to do with us.
Right. So you got 30 days from the day you put them on leave.
If that's the case, then I can rock with
that.
Right.
To come to a conclusion. If you don't come to
no bonus at that point.
Right.
Right. If it's within 30 days.
Right. You're doing it in 30 days, you got to come to. So if you as a department decide, you know what? We reviewed all the evidence. We felt like they acted appropriately. Now, if there's a civil suit and you felt like they acted a certain way, the department will still be on the hook for that. Because if a jury finds beyond the preponderance of the evidence, which is the legal standard for civil cases, that no, we think the officer acted inappropriately, all right, somebody got to pay that. That's not going to come out of the citizen's pocket.
It shouldn't.
It should not. So I think when you start to take money from these departments directly,
they realize like, oh, we got to make some changes.
Right. They're going to start to make the changes in training and do the things that they need to do. And it may not work. Like, again.
So I will challenge you to say that it will. And here's the rationale behind that, right? Because this is bigger than just, police departments. Mm-hmm. It's the same way that, so a lot of people don't really rally around, but it's the same way how, we will be the first ones to scream out, oh my gosh, you are, profiling me when I walk into a store, when I walk into a Louis Vuitton store, or when I walk into a Gucci store, whatever.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like, but you continue buying the shit.
You continue.
Stop fucking buying the shit.
If you take your money out of these places, they will treat you much differently.
And I think
that's why I hate Floyd.
I feel you. And I think
that's one of the reasons.
The difficulty is, right, like, there was a point in time where we tried to do that. Mm. And I think the white people, right, realized that, oh shit, they understand the power of their dollar, and then tried to beat it up. So like when you talk about the Tulsa, that's a big, like the whole Black Wall Street, that's a big piece of that, right? But if we could start to look back and realize like what they were doing and do that again,
absolutely,
create our own economies, then at that point in time, they may not want to change because they see the value in our lives, but they'll want to change at least because they're like, you know what?
They see the value in the money.
And if that's the case, cool. I'm gonna rock with it. Like I'm still not gonna support your shit, but the rest of the niggas who don't mind supporting your shit, at least they will feel comfortable knowing that you respect their money.
Right. So the last piece of this before we go, I need these police departments to understand something. Right? No. And this is what I mean by this,
I
right?
I want to hear this.
No, this is kind of related, but kind of unrelated, right?
Okay.
So you notice, LA fought to keep that body cam footage.
Sure.
And they had to like petition to get it released, right? And we didn't see this, and that was from March. So then we got the one from December.
Yep.
We didn't see that until now.
Yep.
Now, I would say the footage from this from the Daunte Wright shooting doesn't clear her, but it does show that
it adds context.
That is possibly a mistake. Right?
Sure.
I remember there was a shooting here in D.C. where before they could even start protesting, D.C. released the body cam footage.
Sure.
Where like the guy was running and you saw him pull the gun out of the officer's
like,
right? And it was like a day later.
They have the ability to fucking share the video immediately.
If you can share the video immediately, you have shown us that you can.
Right.
When it may exonerate the officer. Right. But when it looks dicey, all of a sudden it's months and months and months.
Right.
So pick your struggle. Either you're gonna hold all of them. Right. Don't release it when it may clear your officer.
Ever.
Right. Don't like if it's months to release it, let it take because now you've set the precedent that you can release the body cam footage in a day or two.
Yep.
You can.
Yep. So
the minute you hold off on it, you're automatically wrong.
Right.
You're automatically guilty. I know. I don't care if you release it months later. If it may have cleared, it doesn't matter because you chose not to release it when you could have, and you've shown me through case after case where it exonerates the officer or at least adds the context that helps the officer. Yeah. You have no problem sharing this.
I actually don't even understand the point of body cam video if it's not readily available to be shared. Like I personally, don't
but that's the thing. It is ready.
No, I know. But I'm saying like
I don't understand the point of body cam video if it's not changing your behavior. That's my problem. That's the problem.
That is a really
if it's not going to change your behavior. So if you're gonna,
but I think that they're both interrelated, though, right? Like if you realize that there's body cam footage, but my department doesn't have to share it, then it's actually not really body cam footage. It doesn't really matter.
So,
I think we beat this dead horse.
The problem is it's not a dead horse. I wish it was. I wish.
Yeah.
Like, I would love for this to be the last episode where we talk about this. You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny. I don't even want to use the word funny, but like, the one thing we've discussed more than anything on this show, and it was never our intention to, has been this. Because you know why? It keeps on fucking happening. Like, that's what it is. It keeps fucking happening.
And so y'all, we have unpacked a lot of heavy issues, a lot of heavy topics today.
Sorry that there weren't many laughs.
Some of them were sent to us by friends of ours who were like, you guys should discuss this, you guys should talk about this. And in reality, even if they didn't, we would have probably still, because this was, these are the type of things.
The high profile.
Right.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we need to find a solution. So we threw some ideas out there. Hopefully you all can start to just think about ways that we can force the powers that be to make the changes that we need to see made.
Which I think is actually a great point too, because ultimately it's one of these things where none of this changes unless we rally around and vote locally, right? Like, we've got to be the ones to actually evoke this kind of change, and we can't do it if we just sit by and just watch.
Right.
So we share this information. It's not fun information to kind of take in, but it is empowering enough to know that we need to be able to figure out who our representatives are, or what our representatives rather are supporting and what they're not supporting. And we need to make sure that we put in the people who are going to be aligned with what we find is necessary and important to us.
Right. Perfect examples. Maryland has just repealed the Police Bill of Rights for those of you living in the DMV. Another state ended qualified immunity for police officers. Things like that are steps in the change that if we know what is happening and we know what our elected officials are fighting for, we know who to vote for and where to put our vote and where to put our voice. Protesting is great. I'm not anti-protesting. I'm at this point not even anti-looting, to be honest with you. I'm just not. I'm not.
Burn this shit down.
I'm not telling anyone to go loot, but
Stop
I'm not
lying. That's what you said.
But what I'm saying is, right? I know you are. What I'm saying is, what do we want when we protest?
Sure,
what do we want when we loot? Like, I'm fine with it. Let's make sure that we are doing it for a purpose.
Sure.
We can yell no justice, no peace all we want. Okay, what do you consider justice?
So I think that that's a great point, and I love that we're finishing this off in it's not quite a monologue, but whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I think that one of the things that we fail to realize, or we have failed to realize over the last however many years, between civil rights era and now, is protest has historically been the moment of us letting the people know what we have a problem with. Right. But we can't stop at protest. There's got to be action afterwards, right? And essentially, if you want to look at, let's say, the bus boycotts, right? There was protest first, and then they boycotted the buses for over a year. We've got to figure out a way to get people to not be focused on it just being a convenient thing,
right?
And having a problem with things conveniently.
It can't just be to go down to BLM Plaza and take pictures,
right?
Like, it has to be once we've started the protest. What do we want, and who are we asking for?
Exactly.
No, it's not Joe Biden. He is not the person that's going to make these changes.
Right. And being willing to give up some conveniences that we probably had before. Because the bigger picture is we're trying to fight for something that is bigger than just us individually.
Right. So
yeah.
With that being said, this has been the Guys Unpack podcast.
This is
a very deep and heavy episode. I'm Rich.
I'm Drake.
Please follow us on all social media platforms at Guys Unpack. Make sure you click the link, like, and subscribe. I want to say we promise to have a funnier episode next week, but
who knows?
Right, who knows what's going to happen.
The police might kill somebody else.
Right, but Jesus Christ, that's how you ended. All right, guys.
I'm just saying, man. Like, that is the shit that we've been dealing with.
All right, so we're going to be back. We're going to catch y'all next week with a brand new episode. And now we are out.
Boom. If you enjoyed this, make sure you check out all our full episodes on YouTube at Guys Unpacked.
Also, we're available anywhere you get your podcast, and follow us on all social media at Guys Unpacked.